doesn't really mind. But so we have a very unusual position. White parted with a central pawn and got the B pawn.
I think usually it happens with reverse colors when white plays b4 and black plays e5. Yeah, that's how we are getting this position. And now white has an extra tempi, which should be quite useful.
But in those situations when white plays a black setup, even with the tempo up, it's not clear.
But now we saw a very original bishop a6 move, because the problem with bishop b7 many times that white can play d4, d5, and the bishop gets locked in.
Yeah. So now he will be probably forced to take.
Yes, takes. Well, very difficult to say something about the position. It's clear that in long terms black has an extra pawn in the center, but white has the initiative, so it's not clear if black really will free himself easily.
So knight e5.
Maybe queen c8. Maybe queen c8. It's a typical Queen's Indian move. Yeah, queen c8
to play d6.
To play d6 and also to put the queen to b7. Yeah, now queen f3 is the natural.
But maybe d6 or d5 can be an idea for.
But maybe d5 is now also possible from white side, but it feels a bit early. Exactly, queen f3, knight b4.
So the knight cannot go back to d3. So
yes, but knight g4, clever. Yeah, he changes the knight from f6. He removes the defender, and this knight on b4 is a bit artificial.
Yeah.
Yeah, knights, again, not easy to make an instant decision, yeah, and this is always quite bothering in blitz. Now Magnus, if our clock is right, slowly done 1 minute on the clock.
Yeah, almost 1 minute.
Yeah, and this puts additional pressure always.
Yeah, plus, okay, black has got the b file, but he can't really do anything with it. If he plays rook b8 to attack b2,
yes.
there was
yeah, exactly. But also he has some concrete problems, because now knight takes f6 is a threat. Removing the knight to d7 is also a bit ugly. Then queen g3 can happen, putting pressure on the d6 pawn. If black takes on g4, then queen g4, queen d7 can be met by d5. So, and also bishop h6, bishop f6, knight e4 is an idea.
Yeah, plus the rook can also be lifted to the third file, rook e3.
Yeah, looks...
You're right, you immediately spotted that the knight on b4 is completely out of play.
Yeah, you would like to have it on d7, and then you could play knight f6 and probably have an easy game.
Yes.
But just by the misplaced knight on b4, things are extremely difficult.
Yes, and he's down 1 minute 30 and more even on the clock, while Levon has blitzed out all his moves so far.
Yes, king h8, a sad necessity, yeah, sad necessity. Then, okay, so rook e3 is so natural.
It's true, yeah.
Rook e3 is so natural.
Can also try to push the h pawn, maybe to h5.
But the problem, once you push the pawn, then you never have this rook e3 idea, and actually it's clear that he is considering it.
Yes.
But black's problem also, it's not clear what is the next move. Yeah, rook e3, that's the problem.
Yeah, black's position is already quite ugly.
It's extremely ugly and very difficult to play, so...
Yeah.
I would like to suggest something, but I don't know what to suggest, because...
His dream would be to be able to play e5, exchange queens, but this costs a pawn.
Exactly.
So,
it's not clear how he can prepare this at all.
Could try to sacrifice the knight to on d4 and then give the pawn. It's still just a pawn down, but...
Yeah, and also rook h3, queen h5 is...
Mate is coming, indeed.
Mate is coming. So something like f5, but it's such an ugly move. Then also queen e2 just strategically probably wins the pawn. In fact, not even strategically, just instantly. So
he's already more than 2 minutes down. Okay, he's down.
Yeah, f5, but this is...
he has g5, no, g5 from
the rook e6, it's just desperation, because there was nothing else. There was just nothing else. it's a position where you even cannot fight. It doesn't matter if you are the best player in the world or not.
Yeah, rook f6 maybe saves the pawn for.
But then bishop g5,
back
rook
to
f7. Yes.
Still very, very artificial.
Because also just rook e1 wins the pawn. Yeah. But actually an endgame would be kind of an achievement for black. I mean, king back to g8, but it won't be an endgame, it's clear.
No.
It will be a massacre.
A bad endgame with the pawn down.
Yeah. Okay, but that's what I meant, that even that would be already not such a bad scenario for black, because things can only get worse.
That's probably what he wants to do now, exchange. And then he has knight d3 maybe, if after the
Yes,
the
but okay,
exchange.
white can first play a3, and after knight a6 take on e6. And then also d6 and c6 are extremely vulnerable. But he will have knight c7 then with tempo. So he can, of course it's lost position, but he can fight. Because that's all he can do in this position.
Yeah, healthy pawn
And
up.
now king g8, king f7. And if he gets king f7, knight e6, then at least he can try to hang on for a while.
He might play c5, but okay, rook d8 maybe. So he's down to 20 seconds, 19 against 2 minutes. But his task is a bit easier now. I mean, he can breathe a bit.
Exactly, and he knows his next moves. Yeah, king f7, knight e6. If white tries to win immediately, then he will bring his rook. And also white still lacks a move on the first rank. Yeah, so
so f3 is a good move to prepare.
Yes. So Levon decided to take it slow. After all, he's pawn up and has the better structure. So
better structure, better time, clearly. But yeah, he wants to attack this pawn on d4. So
yes, this is the idea, and sometimes the advantage of having little time in bad positions, then if you manage to hang on, then your opponent gets impatient because he wanted to win the game immediately, and the game continues, and that's when your opponent can get nervous.
Yes, like now he needs to answer some serious questions.
Exactly.
If he could play king d3 in one move, then he would be happy with.
Yeah, and then knight e6, knight e2 to keep the structure. Yeah, now knight e2, rook b3 is an idea. He will activate his rook via the b file.
Clever.
And this is then, I know he then goes d4.
So now he can take with the knight on d5. So now his advantage is huge again. Bishop there. Okay, he still has bishop e5. Rook e7.
Rook e7. Yeah, so rook b5 maybe. He has to play rook b5, yeah, to keep the structure, and then king d1 to kick the bishop, and then start everything again.
Yeah, but no time to play king d1.
Yes.
And okay, now still the same time on the clock for Magnus, like 11 seconds. So now he should try to prevent rook c2 cannot be played immediately. So maybe bishop e5.
Yes, I mean to get the bishop to c3, and then the rook enters to the 7th. Bishop c3, bishop b6.
So he could have checked first, maybe on b7 before moving back.
Yes, maybe.
But still, he's in with the rook now, while the black rook is a bit much more passive, in fact. Don't tell me that Magnus is playing for the win with his active king.
But suddenly he is relieved that he gets some counter chances with king entering to b3. No, it's not so easy. Yeah.
The king has to be careful now. Rook e6 check. Okay.
Actually, I was surprised that Magnus didn't give the check, but maybe this. But maybe now white can play f4 and bishop e5, bishop e1. Wow. He wants to play bishop f2.
Yeah. But still, I think with the bishop on c3, there was no
But
real
how
mate.
much time does Magnus have?
Magnus
Because
has
we
back
don't-
down
9 seconds.
9 seconds
yeah, 9
against
seconds.
18, so he's almost made up. Yeah, but the bishop on e1 is the great defender here.
Yeah, but now some f4 with black and then try to...
Down to 3 seconds, so he was down to 1.
Down to 1 second, yeah.
So he's going for the rook
Because
ending.
he needed the pawn to f4. Okay, he pushes h4. He needs to play rook e to check to force back the king to the first rank.
But
But okay, then some
is
king
coming.
e3. Happens.
But the pawn is getting to a7. I think he will give back. But there is.
Some no,
I think
pair
a6
pattern
now.
Yes,
but he takes
a6.
on b4. This is.
Rook e1. This is. Yes, because the pawn fell down. That's why levon pushed back the clock.
And now the white king is coming. So he will cut the king. I thought he would cut the king with rook e4
And f4.
and f4. But levon has very little time. He's coming back.
Yes, now he's also.
So now he needs to go after g6. What a defense by Magnus.
Incredible defense
totally
because
lost
he
and
was completely
hang
lost.
on.
But it's still very difficult. And king takes g6, then king f4. No, he took on h1. King f5.
Has to be. Well, we noticed in some games last year that Magnus is sometimes.
But rook a5. Wow, this is.
Magnus is not always very comfortable in those rook endings.
But now he draws it, yeah? Now he holds it.
King h5 or
Yes.
but check and king f6. But maybe he should go to h7.
Rook f6. Rook f6. Yeah.
But after
nice.
king g4.
No, then king g6.
And how do you make
But now
progress?
check. Now check, and if rook f7 takes. Yeah, now it's a draw. Incredible.
What a defense. What a
Incredible
defense,
defense, yeah.
Yeah, that's one of his